working on it. I'm working on it. All right, let's see. Water's here, that's good. Oh, I have two chumash. The hearing loop is not working. That's, I have a note here. Okay. All right. Well, they complain to me about all kinds of things. Let's see. 16 years bar mitzvah on their trip to Israel on June 15th. Susan Brohovsky. Josh Melitz is leading us. Josh. All right, we have 10 minutes. No, it says Rabbi Altshuler, but so I'm supposed to read the last Aliyah, but I think Cantor Newman signed up for it. Let's see what it is. 772. You know what I'd love to do, Ben, is to see if I can get right to the, without, it's a real art. Let's see how close I can get. Chapter 20. I over. The what? The what? Yeah. Of course, for Hanukkah. Of course. Right, it's the long one. I know, it's very easy reading. I know. Tell me about it. Yeah, this is rather dull here, but hey, we're reading the whole Torah, so 72. So it starts with Binyam Shnei Asar. All you have to know is the names. Pagiel ben Ochran. Okay. That's it. That's right. That's true. Naphtali Achira. Naphtali Achira ben Einan. And then we've got, that's it for there, okay. All right, I'll wing it. If we have it, it's not, if Neil's not doing it. Yeah. Who's Haftarah today? Neil, okay. And what did I cut it a little bit? 13:15. It's Manoach, the Nazir, okay. Happy birthday, Irving. Every day I'm going to say happy birthday. Thank you. We have a couple minutes. You people are distractions. I lost track of the time. Josh, hello, man. So keep attention to what we're doing, so you'll be all ready for. It's not that.
Training for many months.
It's not that
But it's funny
complicated.
never put the two and two together.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
I'm not worried
and
about
then to have a little cheat sheet, which I'm sure it will. So I'm not concerned.
Yeah, we do have something, but I don't think you'll need it. But let me get wired up here and we'll get started. Hello, Ed. Shabbat Sholom. Jordan. Is that Hannah back there? Shabbat Shalom. No, it's not Hannah. Susan here. Happy birthday in advance. I see. All right. I think we are. Let's see. This is on. This is okay. Yishmat kol chai, Tivarech et Shimcha Adonai Eloheinu, Ein lanu melech ela'at Elohim v'shinu acharim el'gavriot, Amir l'avarof atishbachot, Amnehegel u'mevchesav yirat abrachamim, Mesidach yamim, Matir asurim, Somer noflim, Zokef kufufim, Sifto te nesheva kabrak rakia, Ein alem Mi mitzrayim galtanu Adonai Elohim mit avitanu mi dever milatanu v'lo azavunu chasadech avitchinu dedanetzach ein heim yodu vivarchu v'chol hashonach tishva kol v'revicha v'kol ha'mefanech tishtachave kol atzmotai tomar da'at adami chamocha miti melech mishra v'fenem Sawyer, Elaine, Shabbat Shalom. Good morning to you, dear ones. So I think we're ready to begin. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Boker Tov. I used to sing you over there. You like mixing it up. That's allowed. I had people in my shul in the past who would sit every week, no matter how many people in the same. It's called like kisei kavua. You're actually supposed to do that, but it's nice. If there's nothing that prevents variety. Huh? The korko, yeah. This is your spot. Don't sit in the second row, third seat. That's it. You cannot do that. You cannot. We throw you out. I understand. Let's begin, everyone. Page 147. Shocheinan. All in jest. So good. Thanks. Shocheinan marov v'kadosh shemo. B'fishrim titalan, divrei tzadikim titbara, v'shon chazim titromam, v'kerev kadoshim titkadash.
B'fishrim titala, divrei tzadikim titbarach, v'shon chazim titromam, v'kerev kadoshim titkadash. Ulachalot revivot amcha ben Yisrael, Yerabiyem b'shimcha, v'keinu v'cholim Adonai.
באמותינו.
שכן חובת כל עצים לפניך עלינו ואבותינו, להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרמם, להדר, לברך, להלל, לקלס, את כל דברי שירות משפחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. המלך הדגול שמיים. ברכה והודו מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך הגדול בתשבחות, אל הדעות אדון נפלאות, הברכי בשרי זמרה, מלך מלכי עולמים. יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, במה דברכותי ומחמכותי, בחייכון ומכון, בחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה וזמן קריב אמרו אמן. שמירה מבורך, לעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרם יתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי קדושה, בריחו, לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תשוקתה ונחמתה, דרבם ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המלך העולם, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. וידוך אבו משבח.
הכל יודוך והכל ישבחוך. ובטובו מקדש ביום חיים
אין ככה ואין זולתך, אפס בך ומדלך. אין ככה אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו וחיי העולם הבא. אפס בך גאולנו מילות המשיח, ואין עומד לך מושיענו לחיית המתים. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך ובורך וכיכון נשמה גדלו וטובו, מלא עולם תעתו וסובבים אותו, המתגאה על חיות הקודש, ונהדר בכבוד על המרחבה, זכות ומישור לפני כיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו. טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, צרם בדעת ובינה ובשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ופיקים נוגה. נאה זיוון בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים באימה רצון קונם. פאר וכבוד נונים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, רע והקין צורת הלבנה. שבח נונים לו כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש. לאשר שבא מכל המעשים.
Page 152. זה שבל של יום השביעי, שבו שבל מכל מלאכתו, יום השביעי משבח מיום ירביץ ושביעי יום השבת. שמך אדוני אלוהינו יתקדש ויתקרא מלכנו יתפאר, השמיים עמך.
תברך משינו של חסדך, על מראה אור שעשית, יברוך הסלע. תברך צורנו, מלכנו וגאולנו ברי קדושים.
והשם ישתם.
כולם אוהבים, כולם בורים, כולם גיבורים, וכולם עושים בהמה ביראה רצון קונם, וכולם פוחים בהם בקדושה טהרה, בשירה ובזמרה, מברכים ושבחים, ומעריפים ומעריצים, ומדגישים וממליכים. את שם האל המלך גדול, גבוה ונורא קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לזה, לתשלוט צם בנחת רוח, בשפה ברורה, מינה קדושה, כולם כחרונים ואוימים ביראה, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך כל הארץ כבודו. ואופנים באחד הקדוש, פרש גדול מן הסמרה צפים, לעומתם משביחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ברוך תותיתנו.
אוהל גבורות עשה חדשות, בעל מלחמות, מצביעי ישועה פורי
אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר. ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות, אברבב אדוני אלוהינו.
Page 154. Shalom, Meir Ba'akad
והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע, באמת להודות לך ויחך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר במו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד.
ואהבת
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושבתך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ובטחתם המזוזו ביתך ובישעריך.
Anyone page 156? Tati Asa B'Sascha Lima Tomota Mitbichem Aberbam Man yibu yimechem v'dimechem al ha'adam asher nishba elav atit lahem ki me'ashamayim al haaretz vayomer Adonai
El Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael barmata lehem ve'asu lahem tzitzit al kanfeihem adorotam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf etil techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם לא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי הייתם קדושים ללכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת
אמת אלוהינו צורים ישנו לדור ודור
הדבר קיים ושמו חיים וכיסו נכון בחצור עם הצליה קיימת
ודבריו חיים וקיימים page 157 זרע ישראל עבדיך לראשינו האחרונים דבר טוב וקיים
אמת שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו מלכנו מלך אבותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו יוצרנו צור ישועתנו פודינו מצילנו למען שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם מגן המשל לבניהם תהילו לאל ים ברוך ומבורך משה מרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר קודש דורת תהילתו ספר לשירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו וניחו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אלי לי לי צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ופתחנו מכה יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
ישראל.
We begin the Amidah for Shacharit Shabbat on page 159 through the Kedusha. We'll be together, and then the remainder of the Amidah will be silent through page 166.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור עולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב והושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. בנאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
page 161. Dikadesh, Shemot, Shem, Shemot, Shemot, Shem, Maro, Hakatubia, Nebia, Dr. Selzabiyama.
Na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na, ya na na, ya na 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 na, ya na 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 na. Ya na 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 ya na na nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam keshem shmakdishim oto bishmei marom ככתוב היה נביאך וקרא זה ואמר. קדוש 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 Adonai Tzevaot Meloch Ol Haaretz Kevodo. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מנסים למצרפים למתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך אדוני ממקומו, ממקומך מכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כמחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תיקדע ותיקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור לנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, Alei Davi Mishiach Tzikecha. Yimloch Hanalam Elohai Tzion Ledor Hallelujah. Ledor Nagi God Lecha Ulanetzach Netzachim Kedushatcha Natish Veshivchacha Elohim Mipina Lemushnalam Va'ed Ki Hamelech Adov HaKadosh Ata Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Kaddish Shalem, page 167.
Yikara bikadash shemei rabba memad ivrachute v'amich machute b'chayechon v'mechon v'chaydecho b'it Yisrael b'agalav izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam le'om me'omaya Yiparach v'ishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yimam v'yanaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalash me'kedusha b'richu Le'elam mekom rechata b'shirata tushvachata b'nachmata damaram be'ama v'imru amen. Tekabel salaton uvalton l'cho Yisrael kadam avuhon dishmaya v'imru amen. Yehi shlam avarav min shemaya v'chaim aleina v'ko Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'ramav v'yaseh shalom aleina v'ko Yisrael v'imru amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Bruchim Habayim. And Boker Tov, and all those things roll into one. It's good to be here. And we are going to be reading from the Torah, the longest chapter in the entire Torah. For you trivia buffs, 89 verses in length. It's quite repetitious. The only thing that's substituted are the names. And they're the 12 days of offerings. The 12 tribes brought their gift offerings when they dedicated the Mishkan. It's called Chanukat HaBayit, the dedication of the house, of the temple, of the Mishkan. And of course, it's the same reading that we read during the week of Hanukkah, which is the rededication of the temple. But as I mentioned in my words of the congregation, it's hard to get a lot of spiritual uplift from repetitious verses like this, but I proposed that I always compared it to my son's high school graduation, when I waited about an hour for that one moment when my son walked across the stage and received his diploma. But to understand that every child had to be brought up. because everybody's important, just like every one of you is important. We can't afford to lose anybody in the congregation, especially among the Jewish people. And I think that's what the text is trying to teach us. That don't ever belittle the contributions and the gifts of every single one of us, because as a whole, then we really have a Chanukah Bayit. So every one of us matters, and that is a very important Jewish value. Just like one day every human being will be valued in the same way, one day. That's still the goal. So the goal is what we're going to be reading about, and so I think we should proceed with the Torah service on page 168.
Ein kamocha be'Elohim Adonai v'ein kema'asecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo yitain Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom av harachamim heitiv abersoncha et Zion Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Ki vecha levad batachnu Melech Elam v'nisa Adon Olamim.
Rise as the ark is open.
Vayihi binso Aharon vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai ve'afutzu oivecha ve'anusu misanecha mipanecha Ki mitzion tetzei Torah Ki mitzion tetzei Torah Udevar Adonai mi Yerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan, Torah, Torah, Ve'amo Yisrael, Bidushato.
We are not a people that dies. I know it is difficult to find the balm which would heal our body and our soul. But perhaps it will do us good if we kindle freely the lights of our own treasures, the Torah, and then sing freely in all the hues with which they were born. They will follow us in this world as a shadow that is no shadow at all. It is the Jew within us. It becomes abundantly clear that the freer we are, the more Jewish we are. And the more Jewish we are, the more human we become. Mark Chagall. Be'ana Rachetz.
Be'ana Rachetz Velishme Kadisha Kadisha Yakira Ana Emar Tushbechan Be'ana Rachetz Be'ana Rachetz Velishme Kadisha Kadisha Yakira Ana Emar Tushbechan Yerava kadomach detitach libi deoraita vetashli mishalin delibi veliba techol amach Yisrael vetavu chaim velishlam. Amen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Godlu Adonai iti uneramemav shemo yachtav lecha Adonai hagedula vehagevura vehatiferet vehanetzach vehahod Ki cho b'shamayim uvaretz, Ki cho b'shamayim uvaretz, Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, ve'amin aseh lechol erosh, Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Vehishtachavu Lehadom Raglav Kadoshu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Vehishtachavu Lehar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
You have the same birthday. I just found that out. No, not much. How's your son doing?
Good Shabbat. Good Shabbat.
Need to get, is this, Josh, is this yours? Yeah, I just want to get the,
One of these days I'll get the intonation. I'll teach you the right intonation. You have to do it right. Yeah. Okay, please. Where's the rest? Please be seated.
is this one on?
And we're reading.
Turn it on.
Hi, Iris. How are you?
Okay.
Why? Oh. When you're here, the lights are brighter. The sunshine. You're my cousin. You're my cousin. That's right. Oh, yeah, I'm reading. Oh, yeah, I'll tell you what I'm reading. It wasn't pleasant between 1918 and 1921 for our families there. It was horrible. Really brutal. I mean, worse than I ever thought. Yeah, 1921, but it was pretty bad by then. Okay, but now we're reading the Torah. And we're on page 805. We're starting to read the dedication offerings that were brought by each of the leaders of the tribes. The leaders, the Nisi'im. The name of the portion is Naso. We're going to be talking about, though, the blessing that occurs just before it on page 804, which you're all familiar with, the Birkat Kohanim. We're going to have some insights, and we'll leave it at that. But look at the text, if you have a chance, to look at the beautiful, timeless words of the priestly blessing. But first, the Torah reading, page 805, 89 verses. It's a long one. Aren't you? Who's reading here? Oh, Ben's reading the first one.
We need a
Yeah. You have to call him
I know, what's his last name?
Cohen.
It's Marty Cohen.
Cohen, C-O-H-N.
What's your,
Mayor Tevye Ben Beth Sholom. Connoisseur.
okay. Vayazor, v'yagin v'yashir l'chol ha'chosim bo, v'nomar amen.
Amen.
Hakol habu godel le'Eloheinu kavod l'Torah, Kohen Krav Ya'amod,
Mayor Tevye Sholom,
Mayor Tevye Ben
Connoisseur.
Reb Sholom v'Chana Sora, HaKohen, Baruch Shenatan Torah Lamo Yisrael B'Kedushato,
Baruch Hu es Adonai HaBaruch. Baruch Adonai HaBaruch le'olam v'oed. Baruch atah Adonai le'melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'nasa lanu es Torah sod. Baruch atah Adonai nosein ha'Torah.
Amen. Vehi b'yom kalot Moshe l'hakim et hamishkan v'imshoch oto v'kadesh oto et kol kelav et hamizbeach v'et kol kelav v'imshechem v'kadesh otam v'akrivu nisiyei Yisrael v'rshei beit avotam heim nisiyei hamatot heim ha'omdim al hapkudim Yaviu el karbanam lifnei Adonai Sheish agalot savu shnei asar bakar agala al shnei hanseim v'shor le'achad v'yakrivu otam lifnei hamishkan v'yomer Adonai el Moshe le'mor Kach meitam v'hayu le'avod et avodat ohel moed v'natata otam el havim ish kafi avodato v'yikach Moshe et hagalot ve'et abakar v'yitein otam el havim et shetei ha'agalot ve'et arba'ah habakar Natan livnei Gershon kafi avodatam ve'et arba'ah galot ve'et shmona habakar Natan livnei Merari kafi avodatam ve'yad Itamar ben Aaron hakohen ve'lifnei kahat lo natan ki avodat hakodesh alehem b'kateif yisa'u V'yakrivu hansiim et chanakat hamizbeach v'yom himshach oto v'yakrivu hansiim et karbanam lifnei hamizbeach v'yomer Adonai el Moshe nesi echad liyom v'yakrivu et karbanam l'chanukat hamizbeach
Baruch atah Adonai le'melech haolam asher nasan lanu Torahs emes v'chai olam l'tabetzacheinu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein ha'Torah.
Amen.
Ya'amod, Gidon Ben, Binyamin Ben, Esther, Yi,
The reading for the second Aliyah begins on page 806, the last three lines on the page.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaBaruch. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Moed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah.
Amen. Vayi המקריב ביום הראשון את קורבנו, נחשון בן עמינדב למטה יהודה, וקורבנו כרת כסף אחת, 30 ומאה, משקלה מזרק אחד כסף, 70 שקל בשקל הקודש, שניהם מלאים, סולת לולב השמן למנחה, כף אחת, 10 זהב מלאה כתורת, פר אחד בן בקר, עיל אחד כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולה, שעיר עזים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים, בקר 2, אלים 5, עתודים 5, כבשים לשנה 5 זה, קורבן נחשון בן עמינדב. ביום השני הקריב נתנאל בן צוער, נשיא שכר, הקריב את קורבנו כרת כסף אחת, 30 ומאה, משקלה מזרק אחד כסף, 70 שקל בשקל הקודש, שניהם מלאים, סולת לולב השמן למנחה, כף אחת, 10 זהב מלאה כתורת, פר אחד בן בקר, עיל אחד כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולה, שעיר עזים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים, בקר 2, אלים 5, עתודים 5, כבשים לשנה 5, זה קורבן נתנאל בן צוער.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיינו עולם נתן בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
יישר כוח.
יעמוד יצחק בן יהושע שלישי.
The Torah reading continues on page 807, verse 24.
The third of the tribes.
ברכו את אדוני המברך.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המברך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. ביום השלישי נשיא לבני זבולון אליאב בן חילון, קורבנו כרת כסף אחת, 30 ומאה, משקלה מזרק אחד כסף, 70 שקל בשקל הקודש, שניהם מלאים, סולת לולב השמן למנחה, כף אחת, 10 זהב מלאה כתורת, פר אחד במקח, עיל אחד כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולה, שעיר עזים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים, בקר 2, אלים 5, עתודים 5, כבשים לשנה 5 זה, קורבן אליאב בן חילון. ביום הרביעי נשיא לבני ראובן אליצור בן שדאור, קורבנו כרת כסף אחת, 30 ומאה, משקלה מזרק אחד כסף, 70 שקל בשקל הקודש, שניהם מלאים, סולת בעולם השמן למנחה, כף אחת, 10 זהב מלאה כתורת, פר אחד בן בקר, עיל אחד כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולה, שעיר עזים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים, בקר 2, אלים 5, עתודים 5, כבשים ונשנה חמישה זה קורבן אליצור בן שדהו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Remember, we're going through a high school graduation. We don't know the kid. We're just very proud of all the individuals who are bringing their gifts for the dedication of the tabernacle.
Ya'amod Yitzchak ben Dov v'Malka Revi'i.
The Torah reading continues for the fourth Aliyah on page 800. Eight, in the middle of the page.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. ביום החמישי נשיא לבני שמעון שלומיאל בן צורי שדי קורבנו כת כסף אחת 30 ומאה משקלה משחק אחד כסף 70 שקל בשקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת בלולה והשמן ומנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת פר אחד בן בקר איל אחד כבש אחד בן שנתו ליולה סיריזים אחד לחטאת ולזבח השלמים בקר 2 אלים 5 תודים 5 כבשים לשנה 5 זה קורבן שלומיאל בן צורי שדי ביום השישי נשיא לבני גד אליסף בדואל קורבנו כרת כסף אחת 30 ומאה משקלה משחק אחד כסף 70 שקל בשקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת בלולה והשמן ומנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת פר אחד בן בקר איל אחד כבש אחד בן שנתו ליולה סיריזים אחד לחטאת ולזבח השלמים בקר 2 אלים 5 תודים 5 כבשים לשנה 5 זה קורבן אליסף בן דואל.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We're on the 7th day of the dedication. Page 809, Yasher Koach.
Ta'amod Shimachaya bat Aharon v'chen Yalea Chamishi.
The reading for the Chamishi Aliyah is found on page 809, fourth line on the page.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Le'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. ביום השביעי נשיא לבני אפרים אלישמע בן עמיהוד קורבנו כרת כסף אחת 30 ומאה משקלה משחק אחד כסף 70 שקל בשקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת בלולה והשמן ומנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת פר אחד בן בקר, עיל אחד, כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולם, סיריזים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים, בקר שניים, אלים, 5 תודים, 5 כבשים לשנה, 5, זה קורבן אלישמע בן עמיהוד. ביום השמיני נשיא לפני מנשה גמליאל בן פדצור, קורבנו קרת כסף אחת, 30 ו100 משקלה, מזרק אחד כסף 70 שקל בשקל הקודש, שניהם מלאים סולת בלולב השמן ומנחה, כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת, פר אחד בן מקח, עיל אחד כנס אחד בן שנתו לעולם, סיריזים אחד לחטאת ולזבח השלמים, בקר 2, אלים 5 תודים, 5 כבשים לשנה, 5, זה קורבן גמליאל בן פדצור.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. If we could please cover the Torah for a minute, we'd like to recognize a very, very dear Susan here. Misha Berach Avotinu Avram Yitzchak Sardiv Korach Avalea Hu Yivarech Et Shima Chaya Bat Haron Vehenya Leah שעלתה להיום לכבוד המקום, לכבוד התורה, לכבוד השבת, לכבוד קהילת הקודש הזאת, לכבוד יום הולדת שלה. הוא בא להודות על כל החסדים שגמל לה אלוהים מיום היוולדה ליום הזה. קדוש ברוך הוא ישמור אותה ואת כל משפחתה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיה. עם כל ישראל לאחיה ונאמר Amen. May God who bless us ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Dear God, bless Susan Prohofsky, who has come here to honor God, honor the Torah, to honor our Shabbat, to honor our congregation, and to celebrate her birthday, for getting forever young. And she is here along with us in gratitude to God for the gift of her life, which she has enjoyed in her many years until this day. May the Kadosh Baruch Hu continue to bless dear Susan with length of years, good health, joy, the pleasures of study and learning, and the profound satisfaction that you must get because you do so many masim tovim, good deeds for others. In celebrating Susan's birthday and other occasions like this, we're always taught to remember how important each day is as we pause here at the Torah to give gratitude for life, for Susan's life. Happy birthday.
Sameach, Yom Haledet Sameach.
Ya'adu, Chabat Sivya, Bat Natan, Leah, Shmuel David, Ben Abraham, Shishi.
The reading for the Shishi Aliyah begins on page 809, verse 60.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach. Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol maladim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Bayam Ashir Nasir Ibn Binyamin Avidan Ben Gidoni Korbana Karat Kesef Achat 30 ו100 משקלה מזרק אחד כסף 70 שקל בשקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת ולולב השם למנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת פר אחד במקח איל אחד כבש אחד בין שנתו ליונה סיריזים אחד לחטאת ולזבח השלמים בקר 2 אלים 5 עתודים 5 כבשים לשנה 5 זה קורבן אבידן בן גדעוני ביום העשירי נשיא לבני דן אחי עזר בן עמישדי קורבנו קרת כסף אחת 30 100 משקלה משחק אחד כסף 70 שקל ושקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת ולולב השם למנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת פר אחד בן מקח איל אחד כבש אחד בין שנתו ליונה סיריזים אחד לחטאת ולזבח השלמים בקר 2 אלים 5 עתודים 5 כבשים לשנה 5 זה קורבן אחי עזר בן עמישדי
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'katenu, baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
I saw. Yeah. Hold on there. Asher Koach up there.
Oh. Yeah, do Chaim David ben Aaron veGittel Esther Gittel bat Esther Mindel bat Mordechai veChaya Tova Shvi'i.
The reading for the Shvi'i Aliyah starts on page 810, verse 72.
The last of the dedications. Baruch Adonai Baruch Elam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Elam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher B'cha Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. ביום 12 יום נשיא לבני אשר פגיע בן אוכרן קורבנו קרת כסף אחת 30 ו100 משקלה משחק אחד כסף 70 שקל ושקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת ולולב השם למנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת פר אחד בן בקר איל אחד כבש בין שנתו ליונה סיריזים אחד לחטאת ולזבח השלמים בקר 2 אלים 5 עתודים 5 כבשים לשנה 5 זה קורבן פגיע בן אוכרן ביום 12 יום נשיא לבני נפתלי אחירה בן עינן קורבנו קרת כסף אחת 30 ו100 משקלה משחק אחד כסף 70 שקל בשקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת לפילולב השמן מנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת פר אחד בן בכך, איל אחד, כבש אחד בן שנתו ליונה, ציריסים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים, מכה שתיים, אלים חמישה, תודים חמישה, כבשים ולשנה חמישה, זה קורבן אחירה בנינן. זאת חנוכת המזבח, ביום ימשך אותו מאת נשיאי ישראל, קרות כסף 12, מזרק כסף 12, כפות זהב 12, 30 ומאה, הכירה אחת כסף, ו70 המזרק האחד, כל כסף הכלים 2,400 בשקל הקודש, כפות זהב 12, כפות זהב 12 מלאות כתורת 10, הקו בשקל הקודש, כל זהב הכפות 20 ומאה, כל הבקר לעולה 12 פרים, אלים 12 כבשים לשנה, 12 מנחתם, וסירי עזים 12 לחטאת, וכל בקר זבח השלמים 24 פרים, אלים 60 עתודים 60, כבשים לשנה 60, זאת חנוכת המזבח אחרי משך אותו, ובבוא משה אל מועד לדבר איתו, וישמע את הקול מדבר אליו מעל הכפורת אשר על ארון העדות מבין שני הקרובים, וידבר אליו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And David and Edith are here at the Torah for an aliyah to remember Edith's beloved father, Max Jacobs, a blessed memory whose yahrzeit is observed today. May he rest in shalom. Torah continues, and it's a wonderful, wonderful way of all of you. When you have yahrzeits, please call the office to make sure that we have your names so we can have an aliyah and recognize the perpetuation of your loved one's memory. Here in the synagogue, there's no better way of doing that. So, I am going to recite the Misha Berach now. For all the cholim, please rise. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yaakov Sarif Korach Avalaya Hu Yivarech V'yirapeh et kol hacholim Atevya Gershon ben Aaron, Aviv Rivka, Tzvi Yitzhak ben Shima v'Chaya, David Yosef ben Chalabasha, Yitzchak bat Shulamit, Rivka Shifra bat Sarah Rezel, Ataya bat Moshe v'Julie Rachel, Leila bat Sega, Leah bat Sarah, Beryl Tiam Eliezer, Dan Sili, Sarah Bracha bat Baruch v'Tiva, Leah bat Naphtali, Gedalia ben Chaya, Yoel ben Dov Yerachmiel, Akiva ben Emmerich v'Rosi, Levtzi ben Gittel Shifra, Mary Barton, Shalom Moshe ben Yehuda v'Chaya Miriam, Pesach Gedaliah ben Mutel, Shlomo v'Yafa Ruth, Yehudit bat Rachel, Fega bat Avraham v'Sluva Leah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yemalei Rachamim Alehem, Lachtiktan Rapatam, Lishlach Lahem Mehirav Uflash Lema, Min HaShamayim, Rifat HaNefesh, Urifat HaGuf, Betosha Ar Cholim, V'chazeket Yidei HaOskim B'tzorchehem, Shabbat Hi, Mizok Kravo Kravo Lavo, Hashtablis Man Kariv and Omar. Amen. May God, who blessed all of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all those remembered in our prayers this morning. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill. May God grant strength to those who tend to our loved ones and friends. And though it's Shabbat, a time to refrain from crying out, we certainly hope and pray that Refuah Shlema, full healing, is at hand, as we say, Amen.
Amen.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mikor Aberacha Imotenu. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mikor Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Hatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkada shemei rabba.
Amen.
Yom divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei.
V'chayedecho Beit Yisrael.
Bagala, bagala,
uvizman karim.
v'imeru,
Amen.
yehesh
Shmei Rabba mevarach, Yolam Mehamaya, Yibarach,
Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha,
B'richu,
le'ela, min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata,
Damiram Yama.
Imeru.
Amen. Please be seated. Maftir called.
Ya'amdu, Hachazad Nachum ben David v'Chana, Sarah bat Yair v'Tzipora, Maftir.
The reading for the Maftir Aliyah begins on page 811 at the Maftir marking.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
ובקר לעולה 12 פרים, אלים 12 כבשים לשנה, 12 ומנחתם, וסירי עיזים 12 לחטאת, וכל בקר זבח השלמים 24 פרים, אלים 60 עתודים 60 כבשים לשנה 60. זאת חנוכת המזבח אחרי משכתו. ובמשה אלו אל מועד לדבר איתו, וישמע את הקול מדבר אליו מעל הכפורת אשר על ארון העדות מבין שני הקרובים, וידבר אליו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Please rise. We're going to do a special Mishabera for two people I love very much. And I'll tell you why, what they were celebrating. Three things. Mishaberach Avotinu Avram Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rechav Leah, Uyevarech et Hechazanahu ben David v'Chana, v'et Sarah bat Yair v'et Tzipora, Bavor shebal hayom ladod l'shem kodsho l'kol chesed, Asher gamal lahem miyom chatunatam, umiyom simchat liban avad yom hazeh. Kadosh Baruch Hu yishmarei v'yatzudei mikol tzara v'tzuka, umikol nega umachala, v'yizku lirot zetza ehem, oskim b'torah, u'v'mitzvot v'tzorchei tzibur, v'yan eretz Yisrael b'emunah, v'yishlap bracha v'hatzlacha b'chol maseh yedehem, im kol Yisrael achehem, v'nomar amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless Cantor Neil Newman and Sarah Nay Newman, who are here to honor God, to honor the Torah, to honor Shabbat, to honor our congregation always as they do, giving so much to us, and here to celebrate their 35th wedding anniversary, along with your, I shouldn't mention this because it captures your age, but it's okay. 67 years since your bar mitzvah, so it was Naso, right after Shavuot, always. And as well, they are about to embark for their trip to Eretz Yisrael. Hope this time, no snags. So we're here to celebrate lots of things with these dear, dear friends of ours. They are here with tremendous amount of gratitude for all the blessings that they've shared together in their 35 years that God has afforded them in their love. And so we ask the Kadosh Baruch Hu to protect and deliver them from all illness, from all setbacks. May they have only peace. May they continue to enjoy God's blessings as they bring blessings and joy to us who know them. In the new song of their many, many years of love to come, embraced by the love of their children and their grandchildren and the many dear relatives that I had the honor of meeting just a couple weeks ago now. So that Cantor, Neil, and Serenade may always live as they bring to us joy and gladness, companionship, love, and shalom, peace. Amen. With our love. Siman Tov.
Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov,
For how long? Oh, Yisrael, Yehlanu, Yehlanu. lanu ulechol Yisrael. Remain standing.
Ya'amdu hamagbiya v'hagolelet laTorah.
Asher Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai Biyad Moshe.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe
Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai Biyad Moshe. Please be seated. As we introduce the prophetic portion of Haftarah for the same one that Cantor Newman recited, he was not born Cantor and was not a Cantor yet. Can I go out on the limb and assume that at the age of 13? And he chanted this Haftarah, which we're going to abbreviate. We had a long Torah reading. So we're at verse 15 on page 814. It speaks of the birth of Samson. Manoach, and I love this, if you can't find it, Eshet Manoach. He has no name. And the two parents gave birth to Samson. Now, why is this read on this particular portion? Because this portion instructs us about the ancient laws of the Nazirim, the Nazir. And Samson was perhaps the most famous of the Nazirs. He let his hair grow long. He refrained from alcohol, at least we can assume that. And he took this oath. And as I mentioned before, there's a lot of speculation about the office of Nazir. We know it was very, very commonly done, especially in the Galilee in the 1st century. And many have assumed that Yeshu, the God of Christians, was a Nazir, as I mentioned, because Yeshu of Nazareth, not Seret, the Tzadi and the Zion are interchangeable in rabbinic literature. And so it could very well be that he was Yeshu the Nazir and took upon that very special oath, which the rabbis disdained. They didn't like ascetic vows, and it has been weeded out of our tradition entirely. So there's a lot of speculation about it because we have not found one drop of archaeological evidence of any town called Nazareth. It doesn't exist. Not until the 3rd or 4th century, which makes sense because by that time there was a Christian core, and so it was an oddity of their scripture. So a different world. By the way, if you're interested in this subject, I'm part of an Israel Archaeological Society that brings some of the great scholars of this period together. Each month there's a seminar. If you're interested in joining that, my dear friend Professor Tessa Rajak runs this, and she's probably the world's greatest scholar on the Septuagint and Josephus, and we're very close friends, and I'm sure she would mind having interested participants in that, and that's where you learn all these great things about that period. So let's hear from the Haftarah. I've spoken too much. Verse 15.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha b'minim tovim v'ratza b'divrehem הנאמרים באמת Baruch atah Adonai הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת והצדק. ויאמר מנוח אל מלאך אדוני נעצרה נא אותך ונעשה לפניך גדיזים. ויאמר מלאך אדוני אל מנוח אם תצרני לא אוכל בלחמך, ואם תעשה עולה לאדוני תעלנה. כי לא ידע מנוח, כי מלאך אדוני הוא. ויאמר מנוח אל מלאך אדוני משמך, כי יבוא דברך וכיבדנוך. ויאמר לו מלאך אדוני, למה זה תשאל לשמי והוא פלי. ויקח מנוח את גדי העזים ואת המנחה, ויעל על הצוך לאדוני, ומפליא לעשות, ומנוח ואשתו ראויים. ויהי ועלות עליו מעל המזבח השמיימה, ויעל מלאך אדוני בלהב המזבח, ומנוח ואשתו ראויים, ויפלו על פניהם ארצה. ולא יאסף עוד מלאך אדוני להיראו אל מנוח ואל אשתו, אז ידע מנוח כי מלאך אדוני הוא. ויאמר מנוח אל אשתו, מות נמות, כי אלוהים ראינו. ותאמר לו אשתו, לא חפץ אדוני להמיתנו, לא לקח מידינו עולה ומנחה, ולא הרענו את כל אלה, וכעת לא השמיענו כזאת. ותלד האישה בן, ותקרא את שמו שמשון, ויגדל הנער, ויברכהו אדוני. ותחל לרוח אדוני לפעמו במחנה דן, בין צרה ובין אשתאול. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן אומר ויוזם, דבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו באמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך כל לא ישובקם. כי אל המלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו, ולעלו ותבש תושיע במהרה בימינו, ברוך אתה אדוני משמח ציון לבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו על כיסאו לא ישב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו, כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתפרש שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. וברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך וברוך שמו.
מקדש השבת.
Now the presentation from the Sisterhood Men's Club in honor of our bar mitzvah. I'm just kidding. Didn't you have it when I was a kid? They had all that. Yeah, of course. The presentation. Yeah, well, I had a kiddush cup, and then and I had a siddur from they call them sister, not women's leagues back then. Yeah. We're reminiscing about memories of our bar mitzvahs. Please rise, page 177. Prayer for our country, for these United States. We need these prayers. I hope they resonate. Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed, so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land. We also pray for the safety of our elected leaders and judges as well. It's a very tenuous, difficult time now. And I pray there's not some drama, horrible drama. It really shakes us to the core. God protect them. Page 178, prayer for the state of Israel. Avidu Sheba Shamayim, songhold and redeemer of the people Israel. Bless the state of Israel, the beginning of our redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guard its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say Amen for the state of Israel. Please be seated. We'll continue on page 181.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, O Jehalelucha Selah. Ashrei Ha'am Shekachalo, Ashrei Ha'am Shadonai Elohav, Tehillah LeDavid, Aromimcha Elohai HaMelech, Va'avarecha Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed, B'chol Yom Arvarecha, Va'ahalel Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed. Gadol Adonai Umhula Me'od, V'li Gdulato Ein Cheker, Dor LeDor Yeshabach Ma'asecha, Ugvuratecha Yagidu. Hadar kevod hodecha, v'divrei nifla'atecha asicha, ve'ezuz noratecha yomeru, ugdulatecha asaprena. Zecher rav tuvecha yabiu, v'tzitkatecha yiranenu, chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech apayim u'tachased. Tov Adonai lako, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav, yaducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yevarchucha. Kevod malchutcha yomeru, ugvuratecha yedaberu, lehodi alivnei ha'adam gevuratav, ukvod hadar malchuto. Malchutecha, malchut kol amim, umemshaltecha bechador vador. Somech Adonai lecha hanoflim, v'zokef lecha hakafufim. Einei chol eilecha yesaberu, v'ata noten lahem et ochlam beito. Yachet yadecha, Masbiach lecha chai ratzon. Tzadik Adonai b'chol derachav, v'chasit b'cha ma'asav. Karov Adonai lecha karav, lechol asher yikra'uhu ve'emet. Ritzon Yereav Ya'aseh, V'et Shavatam Yishma V'yoshiyem, Shomer Adonai et kol havav, V'et kar sha'im yashmid. Tehillat Adonai yedaber pi, V'varei kol basar shem kadsho lilam vahed. V'anachnu nevarech ya, Me'ata v'yad olam. Hallelujah.
Alakum, please rise.
Yahallelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado. Hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren li'amo. Tihila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am karovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavo va'oz. Ay, 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 havu l'Adonai kevot shemo, shtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim. Adonai amayim rabim. Kol Adonai bakoach. Ay, ay, ay. Kol Adonai behadar. Kol Adonai shover arazim. Vashaber Adonai et arzei halvanon, vayarkidem kamo egel. Levanon vesirion kemo ven re'emim. Ay, 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 kol Adonai chotzev lahavotesh, kol Adonai yachil midbar. Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, kol Adonai yecholel yalot, vayechesof yerot uvehechalo, kulo omer kavod. Ay, 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 Adonai lama bu yashav yeshev, Adonai melech li'olam. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yavarech et amo v'shalom. Yai dai 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 da dum, yai dai 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 da dum, yai dai 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 da dum, yai dai dai dum, uvnucho yomar. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al tazovu eitz chayim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomecheha Meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh yameinu kekedem. Yum ba da 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 da. Ya da da. Yum ba da 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 da. Ya da 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 dum ba da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu kekedem.
Thank you, Deborah. Shekoach. Find my little notes here somewhere. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So we have just finished that long chapter. So I'm going to try to focus on really what is the centerpiece of this week's portion, Naso, which is the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing, which all of you are familiar with. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasemecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God lift you and guide you. May God lift you and grant you peace, in various translations. So until recently, and I don't remember what the oldest Hebrew is, but until very recently, the oldest Hebrew that we had in writing that now sits in the Israel Museum were the words of the Birkat Kohanim. And it's quite stunning to see this little amulet in the Israel Museum, which was discovered about, I guess it would be about 50 years ago now. And I'm going to tell you the story of how it was found later. But first, I want to make some introductory remarks. Many scholars assume that the Birkat Kohanim, or is translated as the priestly blessing, is the oldest liturgical piece that was part of the regular services every day during the temple period. And they based that not only on the power of finding something from the 7th century before the Common Era. This was a discovery from the first temple period of Solomon before it was destroyed. But also based upon in the Mishnah, since you're studying the Mishnah, Mishnah Tamid, it refers to the Birkat Kohanim as having been recited at the end of each daily sacrifice. So the liturgical power of this piece dates back, as we probably can figure from this, putting the pieces together, to the first temple period. After that, we probably assume that the 3 paragraphs of the Shema are the second oldest piece, and then the Amidot, the various silent devotions, which went through some editing, though date back to the late second temple period, to give you a sense. Well, of course, one of the courses we need is a history of our liturgy, how it all developed. So this prayer was invoked by the Kohanim, as it says in the Torah, and they were not to be seen as intercessors between God and the people, which is a practice adopted by the Catholic Church, but the rabbis were insistent that they were mere conveyors of God's blessings. That's a different subject. Also, liturgical scholars have assumed that the very basis of the Birkat Kohanim is the same triad of every Amidah. And I can't go through all these texts, but the Birkat Kohanim refers to, now you have to also remember how beautifully this is written. The first line is three words, the second line of the blessing is 5 words, and the third line is 7 words, which adds up to 15, which is the way you would normally spell the name of God. Yud, Hey, but we use Tet, Vav, which is a different issue, but it spells the name of God. 3, 5, 7. And then you have another, also part of the beautiful symmetry, is that the first line, and you can count them if you'd like to test me out, 15 letters for the first line, 20 for the second, and 25 for the third. So this was carefully crafted. Way way back yonder. What does the blessing contain? And it's hard to summarize all of the rabbinic commentary, but if you'd like to follow on page 804, a good translation here. May God, the Lord, bless you and protect you. Now, what do we, and by the way, this blessing, of course, has been incorporated in our Friday night blessings for our children, in a very powerful way that we transmit this blessing to our children before Yom Kippur, before holidays. So think of our children and think of the people being blessed here on the steps of Jerusalem at the temple, the first temple period. May God bless you and protect you. The first is a material blessing. May we be protected from violence, from terror, from sorrow, from disease, from the physical world's torments. May our children have shelter and food and joy. V'yishmerecha, may they be protected in all those things, from all those possibilities that can take away our material needs. And Rashi commented on V'yishmerecha, may God keep you. Not only should, Rashi said, should you have health and security, may God, he wrote, keep you, v'yishmerecha, keep you from any blessings that may dominate you. Now, what's he trying to say by that? If you achieve wealth, power, fame, whatever blessing you achieve in this world, and we're not to be denied those blessings, but do not make them the goals. Because if you have too much material blessing and forget where they came from, then that may lead to arrogance and hubris and false pride and a false sense of security, because it all can be taken away. And Rashi says, may God not let you forget who you are, made in the image of God, and do not abuse what you have been given. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, we tell our children, and do not be blind to the needs of others. Share it. You are blessed. Make your blessings count. That's the first blessing. It's powerful. And the second blessing, Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yikuneka, translated, may the God deal kindly and graciously with you, doesn't really summarize what this blessing is about. Whenever you see a reference to light, Yair, may God lighten you, that always refers to the or Torah, the light of Torah, of learning, of spiritual dedication, religious dedication. Vichuneka is a play on the word. The root of vichunecha is grace, chen, kindness, love. But the word chinuch also means education. Chinuch, education, learning, spiritual blessing, a life dedicated to Jewish education, to Torah, to being a moreh, to intellect, to the growth of mind. Panim, may your wisdom be reflected upon your face. And we talked about that last night. It's not worth going back why the word face is in the plural in the Hebrew and no other language. Plural, because the face of God has to be translated into your face. It's a partnership involved here. You are the instruments of material blessing as well as spiritual blessing. You are a spiritual being as well, children, created in the image of God. Now bring those blessings of your Torah learning to others. And Yisa Adonai panav elecha vichuneka. Yisa, the word naso, the beginning of our Torah portion, refers to being uplifted. A Jew cannot live without hope, without a sense of future, without being uplifted by our tradition, being carried by our ideals, our vision, our morality. And Maimonides, the great Rambam, wrote that the very purpose of life is embedded in the third blessing, the number 7, 7 words, 7 days of creation. The very purpose of creation is contained in this last line, which is to find this balance of the material and the spiritual world and have a life dedicated to shalom, the very last word of the blessings here, of peace. And also, of course, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, the very basis of your compassion and your love must be based upon what is nisiyah. It also means forgiveness. Forgiveness brings the world to peace. And so if you can do that, master that, then you've mastered both the material and the spiritual needs of our world. Don't let others bring you down. Always be uplifted with our God and our tradition. We could discuss this for hours, but I now want to tell you the story of how this was founded. And I do have the date here, in the late 1970s. I don't know exactly when it was all revealed, but an Israeli archaeologist, his name is Gabriel Barkay. He was overseeing an excavation in Jerusalem in the Gehinom area. Gehinom is a very interesting place. That was the original name in rabbinic literature for hell. Why? Because the Moabites, according to tradition, would kill their firstborn children. They would send them down the cliffs. And by the way, the Romans did the same thing. I saw that in Capri with the great emperor Tiberius. He used to sit there during the day and watch children being cast off the cliffs. That was his entertainment. So the rabbis called that hell. You know that we read on Rosh Hashanah how heinous child sacrifices in the story of Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac. So there was an excavation done in that valley. If you've ever been there, it's quite an interesting place. It's been fully excavated now, and it's the place of hell. By the way, when everybody asks you, what is the Jewish view of hell, you should say, well, Christianity got it all wrong. It's not afterlife. Hell is right here on earth. People make hell. Auschwitz is hell. You don't have to go very far to see what hell is all about. And the rabbis knew that, calling Gehinom the place of hell. And it's very interesting. I love sharing those things with you because it really adds to our understanding of what's going on. So Professor Barkay was supervising this archaeological dig. It was going. They collected all kinds of pottery. And this was the location, by the way, where Titus first assembled his troops to attack Jerusalem in the year 68-69 of the Common Era. So they were looking for also other relics from the Roman occupation of this particular area, which was a good launching point for the Romans to attack the Temple Mount. There was also a Byzantine church there that they were interested in exploring, and what they found in the early days of the excavation was all kinds of stuff, pottery and things. They found beer bottles left by British soldiers in the 1920s, rifles left by the Ottoman Turkish rulers since the 16th century. And of course, as the professor said, what we looked at were all kinds of things that were left there with Jewish encounters with all the empires that had been there. Babylonia, Persia, Rome, Byzantium, the Ottomans, the British. But buried beneath the remains of all those powers, layer upon layer, was an ancient amulet discovered by Professor Barkay bearing the words of Birkat Kohanim, which is seen today in the Israel Museum. One of the most incredible, astonishing reminders of Jewish identity. So this prayer that was designated for pronunciation by the Kohanim is part of our liturgy literally for thousands of years. So now, from Professor Barkay's own words, this is how they discovered it's little tiny thing, was worn on one Jew's neck in that area. He said, there was an annoying kid on the excavation. His name was Natan. And he was always pulling at my shirt. He wanted to do more. So I sent him off to clean one of the tombs from the rubble. I thought this was an ideal place to put him. He'd be out of my sight finally. I told Natan the repository had to be clean, just like his mother's kitchen. It had to be clean for photography. So little Natan took a little hammer, 13-year-old boy, bar mitzvah boy, and he, of course, like a boy, was more interested in banging the hammer than cleaning the site. So he took his hammer and he broke what eventually we know was a mosaic, an ancient mosaic, probably from the Byzantine period. And behind the mosaic, Natan, saw through the hole that he had created by breaking the mosaic, and there appeared a little piece of pottery. And he brought the little piece of pottery back to Professor Barquet with it, and the professor went nuts. This is the greatest discovery of archaeology since the Dead Sea Scrolls. And this little boy found it. So he ordered all of the people there not to utter a word, even to their spouses, their loved ones, their friends, nobody, because he considered this, he knew already this was one of the great treasures of all history. He said, these are his words, "It was very hot. We had to change teams every few hours. There was a lady who was in charge of coffee and sandwiches. Everyone was sworn to secrecy. They weren't allowed to tell their parents, spouses, or friends. If word got around Jerusalem that there was such a treasure, the California gold rush would be nothing compared to what would happen here in Jerusalem." And so they found 3 scrolls, and in one of the scrolls, they found the language that had not faded with time, discovered by someone who wore it around their neck, a Jew like all of us. And those were discovered, the words Yevarechecha, the oldest words from the Hebrew Bible ever discovered until very recently, many hundreds of years older than the oldest Dead Sea Scrolls, which dated from the 2nd, 3rd century before the Common Era. So they threw back the antiquity of Hebrew by at least 400, 450 years. That's how incredible it was. So the professor found this, and he said, we must raise them high, especially to those who continue to deny the roots of the Jewish people to the land of Israel. Profound roots that predate all empires found in Israel, right by the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. This is the ancient city of our people, the capital. And he wrote, these words were found on the ash heaps of empires, under the beer bottles of the British and the rifles of the Ottomans, predating the Byzantines, predating the Romans, the Persians, and the Babylonians. Words from the first temple period, that was the first temple, of course, built by Solomon. Words of the Kohanim, in fulfillment, as we just read this morning, in fulfillment of Moses' original command, the words that blessed the people of Israel, our people, so many generations ago. These words, always beloved by our ancestors, which we still recite, and often as we can. So I share this with you because I think it's a real jolt of incredible discovery. Imagine just finding this, and there'll be more discoveries coming, I'm sure. We don't know what they are yet. But never to forget the indestructible bonds of the Jewish people through the centuries, especially to Jerusalem, especially to the land of Israel. Words that now reside in the Jewish home, in the Israel Museum, no longer desecrated by Jordanians and other groups that dominated the area, resting in peace in our Jewish state from the 7th century before the Common Era. Always a testament to the eternity of the Jewish people. Amen. I get emotional. I'm sorry. Please rise, everyone. Chatzi Kaddish, page 184. Baruch Tiyeh.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
ויאמר דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחיי חון ובימי חון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בזמן קריב וימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם אמן. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילם כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעמה וימרו אמן.
Together the Amidah, Musaf Shabbat begins on page 185, through the Kedusha together on page 187, and then we'll continue in silence with the remainder of the Amidah through page 192.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot U'Mevi Goel Limnei B'neihem Leman Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer Ofokei Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufokei Tzara Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Metim Atah Rav Le'Hoshia Morid Hatal Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed Mechayei Metim B'Rachamim Rabim So make Noflim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayim Emunato Lishem Le'afar Michamocha Ba'agivurot Umido Melach Melech Meimid Umechayem Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lahachayot meitim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hametim
Kedusha. Nari Savanach Dishkan Kisosir Safe Kodesh Makdishim Shimcha Bakodesh. Kakatubi on the back for ourselves of Yamar.
Nari Tzacha V'Natishcha Kesot Siach Sarfei Kodesh Hamakdishim Shimcha Bakodesh Kakatu Vayad Neviyecha V'Kara Zel V'Yamar
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevot, Melo kol haaretz kevodo.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevot, Melo kol haaretz kevodo. Kevodo mahale mahale olamai mikom kevodo. Kevodo mahale mahale olamai mikom kevodo. Kevodo mahale mahale olam. Misharat of shoalim shoalim zelazer. Aye mikom kevodo. Misharat of shoalim shoalim zelazer. Aye mikom kevodo. Liumatam baruch yomeru.
Baruch kavod Adonai imkomo.
Kerod Adonai mi mekomo. Mi mekomo hu yifen barachamim v'yachonam ham yachadim shemo erev avoker b'chol yom tamid pamayim b'yahava shema omerim shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu Hu Moshienu V'Hu Yashmienu V'Rachamav Shenit Le'enei Kachai La la da 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 da
Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Ani Adonai Elohechem. Uvdivrei kachecha katuv le'mor. Imloch Adonai li'alam. Elohai Tzion. Ledor vador. Hallelujah. Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador. Nagi golecha. Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador. Ledor vador. Nagi golecha.
Ulenetzach netzachim. Kedushatcha nahakdish. Kedushatcha nahakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush le'alam le'alam va'ed. Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador nagi golecha. Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador.
Ledor vador nagi golecha. Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata v'kadosh ata. Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata gadol v'kadosh ata. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Amen.
se shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom. Oh, se shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imaru amen. Ve'imaru amen.
Page 203, Kaddish Shalem.
Yikra v'yikra shmei Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'amad ivra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. V'agalav izman kori v'imaru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach. Le'olam amei omaya yitbarach. Barak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalau shemei dekudesh abrichu la'elam mimcha brachata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yama v'imaru amen dikabal tzalot tahonu v'utahon d'chol Yisrael kodam avohon di v'shmaya v'imaru amen Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imaru amen O se shalom bimramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imaru amen Yaseh shalom
Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael.
Yaseh shalom Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Page 204, Ein Keloheinu.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kamoshienu. Mi Eloheinu, Mi Adonenu, Mi Malkeinu, Mi Moshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shechitiru, Avotenu, Lefanecha, Et Ketoret Hasamim, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kamoshienu.
Page 205, Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach li'adon hakol, latet gedula li'otzer bereshit, she'lo asanu kekoye ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, she'lo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim ve'Yoset Aretz, Umoshav Yakaro b'Shamayim Mimahal, Ushchin Atsuzo, Begov He Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, Emes Malkeinu Efes Zulato, Kakatu betorato, וידעת היום והשבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated, everyone. First, two things before we read the yard side list. There was a late addition to our Misha Barak list, so we want to wish Louis Leffer a refuah shlema. Aryeh Leib ben Yehuda HaKohen is recovering, and we wish him a refuah shlema. Also, I wanted you to note, I finally counted the letters, the inscription above our ark, above Ner Tamid. Yivdu Adonai b'simcha, serve God with joy. If you add up the letters, they add up also to 15, just like in the Birkat Kohanim, the first blessing, which is, again, spells God's name numerically in the Gematria. Little thing. Hot off the plate, just realize that. So we remember now, pause to remember the passing of Edward Kalin, longtime member of our congregation who passed away. This week, we also note the yard sites of Jerry Yaffa, Megan Miriam Berman, Robert Biller, Max Jacobs, Dr. Herman Korn, Aaron Seth Glazer, Shirley Mauner, Saul Gottlieb, Sarah Green, Rivka Calvaria, Dr. Herman Korn, Louis Levinson, Joseph Jaffe, Sophie Fine, Alan Rosenberg, Marcel Nerens, Bessie Hyman, where's Sarah name? Yeah. And Jacob Newman, Ben Morris, Elliot Levine, Betty Sversky, Lillian Sacker, Julie Zelda Salzman, Frida Height, Marcel Nerens, Marilyn Sobel, Irving Spector, Nathan Strobel, Samuel Walzer, Gilda Weintraub, Sophie Yonker, Riva Goldner, and Irving J. Zealot, all of blessed memory. So those in mourning still, and those remembering yard sites will please rise, along with those who are on stream as well. Please rise for the Mourners Kaddish on page 207. Yid Gadal v'Yid Gadash Shemei Rabbah v'Alma Divrach Irutei v'Yamlich Malchutei v'Chayechon of Yomechon v'Chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'Gala v'Zman Kari v'Imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach v'Elam L'mei Almaya Yiparach v'Yishtabach v'Yitpa'ar v'Yitromam v'Yitnaseh v'Yitadar v'Yitaleh v'Yitalal Shmei Dekudisha B'Richu La'elam in Kol Bechata v'Shirata Tushbechata v'Nechmata Damiran bi'alma v'Imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya v'Chayim Aleinu v'Al Kol Yisrael v'Imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'Imromav Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu v'Al Kol Yisrael v'Imru Amen. Please be seated. Announcements, Razbokov, our recording secretary.
Good Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos, everyone. I wanted to just make some of the standard announcements. Just, of course, as always, at the end of services, please put your prayer books in the seat backs in front of you, or on the chairs if you're in the front row. That would be you. Morning minions are 8 to 9 a.m. Sunday through Friday on Zoom, and on Thursday in the chapel in person as well. Today's Bima baskets are sponsored by Leslie and Jay Cohen in honor of their 51st anniversary, Mazel Tov, and by Serenay and Neil Newman in honor of their 35th anniversary, thank you. And the grandchildren, children, niece, nephews, and brother in memory of Norman Rich on his yortzeit. And Mazel Tov again to Susan Prohofsky for celebrating not only the birthday, but your grandson Benjamin Prohofsky's graduation magna cum laude from the Nice High School in Jacksonville with honors in math and junior naval ROTC. And Mazel Tov to Esta Snyder for celebrating the honor as Camp Pembroke alumnae at a June 25th dedication of a welcome pavilion in honor for all she's done for the Pembroke Sisterhood. Our Kiddush sponsors are Katerina and Marco in honor of their marriage on May 26th here at TBS. Mazel Tov, many, many, many happy years together. As you can all see, the wall construction continues. We are not going to just have chairs there piled up in a wall. So please use caution when you're walking around the social hall and sanctuary. And one last thing that is important, because there's been an update in some software, many members are finding that emails from TBS and including staff emails and e-blasts are ending up in spam or in the junk mailbox, trash. So make sure that you check all of those different areas if you think you're missing something from TBS. And of course, you can call the office if you do have any questions or problems with that. So that's important for you on Zoom also. This weekend, tomorrow, there's a tribute to Molly Picone, and that is the doors open at 2:45, and at 3 o'clock there's wine and cheese reception, and at 4 o'clock the program starts here in the chapel, and that should be a really nice event, fun, great music, and with our own Toby Simon on piano. Oh, sorry, Paula, I didn't know, sorry. Okay. 85 people are signed up so far, so that's great. It should be a really, really good time. And I didn't sign up, and I'm still planning to come. So you can pay at the door. Finally, when you're visiting the office here at TBS, make sure that you stop in, or when you visit TBS, make sure you stop in the office so that you can, the staff can be aware of who's in the building and how to reach you if there's, God forbid, any emergency. So thanks very much. Shabbat Shalom, and we'll see you at Kiddush.
Thank you so much. We are certainly going to miss Marco and Katerina here every week, but we know they're going to a good place in Michigan. They're in love, and they're going to have a beautiful home, and they have a home here as well. We'll take good care of your parents and your sister. She hasn't decided where she's going, has she? Where? She's going to Portland, Oregon? That far? That's far. Okay. Oh, okay. You want to say something? Sure. That's a real honor. Okay. Marco and Katerina.
First of all, we would like to thank you all for everything you did for us during these months. When we arrived to the United States on February 25th, we had like nothing left, just hope. We were saving our lives, and we didn't know like what would be ahead of us. And we found this wonderful community who supported us, who supported our family and saved our lives. And we will keep these memories like in our hearts, and we are pretty sure that we will give back to the community, to Jewish people, as we share the same destiny of fleeing like from bad things, from war, from persecution. So thank you so much. We are very grateful for everything. We are feeling bad about leaving the community right now, but we know that in future we will do much more. So thank you so much.
Thank you for blessing us. You want to say more?
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, everyone,
chess
honestly.
player, yes.
Each of you did so much for us, and as Katerina said, that when we were coming here, we didn't know anything here, we didn't know anyone, and each of you welcomed us here, made us feel home, and thanks so much. We'll give back to the community, to the world. We're going to be working as resident doctors, we'll be saving other people's lives. Luckily, we found a place to stay in Michigan. We're leaving our parents and my sister here. My sister got accepted to a school in Oregon, and things are going in the right direction in our family. So thank you so much again for helping us out.
It's been an honor. Well, we'll be in touch, and of course when they come back, we'll have more celebrations. You'll be able to relax at home here. That's wonderful. Okay, let's conclude then with Adon Olam on page 211, followed by our Kiddush and Motzi.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefto kol azay melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu haveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefto kol azay melech shemo nikra v'hu echad v'yein sheni להמשיל לו להכבירה בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, ליד נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, והוא אלי, וחי גואלי. בצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי, ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, בידו. Avkid ruchi, b'yeti shan ve'ayira, ve'im ruchi, Giviati, Adonai live, lo ira, Adon olam asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, li'ed nasa v'chefto kol, Azay melech shemo nikras. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael, et Shabbat, lasot Shabbat l'dorotam barit olam, beini yavaim b'nei Yisrael oti lilam, ki sheishet yemim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz, uv'yom hashvi shavat vayinafash, al kein berach Adonai et yom hashavat v'yikatshehu, Savri Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Borei Pri Hagafen. Bershutchem Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. Good Shabbos, Martin. That wasn't bad. I'm getting better, you have to admit. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. It's such a pleasure. That wasn't, you have to admit, that wasn't bad. I'm approaching the master. You're a good teacher. A moreh gadol.